Hey guys, today we'll create a pixelation effect in Blender. I'll be using the 3.0 version of Blender. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'll be using a dolphin image by Claudia Beer from Pixabay, but you may use any image you like. Make sure to save it in your project folder. And here's the image I'm going to use. Now, let's see how to add the pixelation effect. Step 1. Add a grid. So, save your file and delete the default cube. Now we're ready to add the image. But the image must sit on something. So let's add a grid. Shift A, Mesh, Grid. And go to Top View. Now for the pixelation effect to look good, the pixels should be perfect squares. To achieve that, it's important to maintain a width to height ratio of the image and subdivide the grid accordingly. If you hover over the image file icon in your project folder, you will see that the size of the image is 1920 by 1280 pixels. So to maintain the ratio, we can divide both dimensions by 10, thus getting 192 by 128. Also, if we set the numbers of subdivisions for the x and y axis to 192 and 128 respectively, we'll get perfect squares. So right after you add a grid, set the x and y subdivisions to those values. 192 by 128. Now hit N to open the sidebar and set the dimensions to 192 and 128. Good. If you now go to Edit mode, you will see that the grid is subdivided into squares. Step 2. Add a material. Now go back to Object mode, go to the Material tab, and press the New button to add a new material. Change the material to Emission. Step 3. Add an image texture. Now go to the Shading workspace, over here, and switch to Rendered Shading. In the shader editor at the bottom, add an image texture node. You can do it by hitting Shift+A, and then under Texture, selecting Image Texture. Connect the node with the emission node, Color to Color. Then hit the Open button on the image texture and select the image. Go to Top View to see it better. Step 4. Align the camera. Let's go back to the Layout workspace, Rendered View. We can now close this sidebar and let's set up the camera. To do that, select the camera in the outliner and in the View menu, under Align View, select Align Active Camera to View. When you do that, you'll be in camera view automatically, but you won't see the image anymore. This is because the image is too far away from the camera. If you go to the Object Data tab, over here, you will see the clip end value set to 100. This is how far the camera can see. In order to be able to see the image, we have to increase this value. You can try higher values. For me, a value of 350 works fine. I can see the image again. Step 5. Add a build modifier. Now make sure you are in the layout workspace, rendered shading, and in camera view, and select the grid. Go to the modifier tab and add a build modifier. The grid is gone, but if you hit the play animation button over here, you will see how the grid is being built pixel after pixel from bottom to top. Step 6. Set up the build modifier. So we have a pixelation effect, but not the one we wanted. Let's change some settings in the build modifier. First of all, we want the building process to be slower and take the whole duration of the animation. At this point, the end value in the timeline is set to 250, but the length of the building process in the build modifier is only 100. That's why the grid is fully built during the first 100 frames. Let's change the length to 250 so that it matches the end value in the timeline. Now go back to frame 1. You can hit this button if you're not there. I'm at frame 1 now. If you play the animation now, the building process will be 2.5 times slower. Okay, there's one more thing we want to change. The pixels should appear in random order. To do that, all you have to do is check the randomize checkbox over here. If you now play the animation, you will see something like this. Okay. Step 7. Add another build modifier. Now suppose that this is the effect we want to achieve. The animation should start with no grid, then the grid should be built during the first 100 frames. Then it should remain fully built for 50 frames, and finally, in the last 100 frames, it should disappear pixel by pixel. It's pretty simple to do, but we'll need another build modifier. You can just duplicate the one you already have, so click on the arrow and select Duplicate. Now you have two build modifiers. In the first one, the start frame should remain at 1, but the length should be 100. In the second build modifier, the start frame should be set to 151 and the length to 100. Also, in the second modifier, check the reverse checkbox over here, because we want the grid to be deconstructed in the last part of the animation. Step 8. Add the brightening up effect. Let's add one more detail to the animation. When the grid is fully built, around frame 120, the image should brighten up for a fraction of a second. So go to frame 120, which is over here. Then in the Material tab, hit I over the strength value of the emission shader. So here we have our emission shader, here we have its strength value. So let's hover over this value and hit I. This will insert a keyframe over here. Now go to frame 132. Change strength to 10 and hit I again to insert another keyframe. Finally, we want the light to dim back to its original value. To do that, select just the first keyframe and hit Shift D to duplicate it, and then drag the new keyframe to frame 136. Okay. If we now play the animation, the image will become brighter for a while. Let's have a look. And now it should become brighter. and dimmer. Good. Step 9. Render the animation. Let's not render the animation, but first let's make test render to see if everything works fine. Select any frame during the animation you like for example here, and hit render image under render. Good, it's not bad, but maybe a black background would look better. So let's close this window. Let's go to the World tab and change the color to black. Good. Render the image again. Good. I like it better, so we can now finally render the animation. Go to the Output tab and select the folder where you want to save the animation. You can select the folder over here. Set the file format to FFmpeg video over here, and under encoding set container to MPEG-4. Now save your file, go to the render menu and select render animation. It will take some time to render, but after it's finished, you'll have a nice animation.
Okay, that's it for this video. If you like it, a thumbs up would be great. Also, make sure to subscribe for future videos. If you want to leave a comment or ask a question, you're welcome to do so. Thanks for watching.